I envied my sister for having two childhood sweethearts. One was a young general, the other a brilliant chancellor, so I asked if she could give one of them to me. My sister smiled and ruffled the top of my head. Mian Mian, which one do you want? In my previous life, my finger wavered back and forth between them, and my sister had me play rock, paper, scissors with them to decide the winner. Whoever lost would become my husband. The young general's eyes turned red with anxiety, and he beat me every single time. Only Chancellor Xia Yanxi secretly went easy on me in the final round, lost the game, and married me. After we were married, I followed Xia Yanxi around, learning to recite poetry and paint like my sister, doing my best to please him. After making a fool of myself again, I was scolded by Xia Yanxi and hid in the study to cry in secret. Then I saw an unsent letter on his desk. I kept my promise and went easy on her, marrying Sang Mian. In the next life, could it be me who stays by your side for the rest of your days? When I lived this life over again, I heard my sister ask me that same question, and my finger trembled before I quietly pulled it back. I didn't want either of them. Cease. Do you have anyone better? My sister looked surprised for a moment, then rubbed the top of my head and asked softly, Mian Mian, aren't my two childhood sweethearts good enough? This one is Shen Qing, the young general from the Marquis of Wei Yuan's household. He's straightforward and full of passion. The other is called Xia Yanxi. He comes from a distinguished noble family and became chancellor at a young age, calm and steady. These two really were both one in 10,000, exceptional among exceptional men. I twisted my skirt and answered honestly, they're both too good. I'm not worthy of them. My sister laughed, her eyes bright and radiant like the morning sun in the sky. She took my hand and promised me, as long as you beat them at rock, paper, scissors, who would dare go back on their word? Even if I have to force them, they must marry you. I frowned. Even though I hadn't eaten anything, my mouth and my heart were both unbearably bitter. Ever since I was little, I had been inferior to my sister in every way. When I was 10 years old, the horse my sister was riding suddenly went mad, and to protect her, I was struck by its hoof, bled a lot, and was left hanging by a thread. After I was finally saved, my mind was never as sharp again. My sister had felt guilty for many years and had always wanted to make it up to me. But I was already past the age of coming of age, and because I wasn't very bright, no one came to propose. So my sister wanted to find someone she knew well, someone who could take care of me for life. In my previous life, I once said that I envied my sister for having two childhood sweethearts. My sister was very generous and had the two of them play rock, paper, scissors with me. Whoever loses to Mian Mian among you will marry her as his wife. My little sister is very sweet. No matter which of you marries her, you must take good care of her. If you make my little sister shed even a single tear, I won't let you off. My sister was sincerely thinking things through for me. Whether it was Shen Qing or Xia Yanxi, both had grown up with her and knew her best. In terms of looks and family background, the two of them were both first-rate. Only then did she feel at ease entrusting me to one of them. But I was truly bad at hiding my feelings. The young general Shen Qing looked at my sister, so anxious that his eyes reddened, and he beat me easily every time. When it came to Xia Yanxi, he looked much gentler than Shen Qing, refined and graceful. My sister set the rules, afraid I wouldn't be able to win, so she made it best 2 out of 3 for me. Xia Yanxi beat me once. If he beat me just one more time, I would lose completely. But right at that moment, my sister cleared her throat and coughed softly. Xia Yanxi froze for a moment, hesitated briefly, and deliberately messed up his hand, letting me win 2 rounds. After a long while, Xia Yanxi slowly withdrew his hand from the game. His body was stiff as he forced himself not to turn back and look at my sister even once. He lifted his gentle, picture-perfect face and said to me softly, "A bet's a bet. Since I lost, I'll marry you and never go back on my word. From now on, I'll treat you well and try to like you, second miss of the Sang family." I stared at him in a daze. Xia Yanxi's voice was so gentle, it felt like I'd tasted sugar painting, with little threads of sweetness blooming in my mouth. After we got married, I always liked trailing after Xia Yanxi. A colorful cloud drifted across the sky. The tabby in the courtyard had a whole litter of kittens, big or small. I couldn't help wanting to share it all with him. Xia Yanxi nodded, his expression indifferent, then turned back to discuss court affairs with his advisors. Even when I was neglected, I didn't lose heart. Ever since I hurt my head, I've been more timid than other people. When the summer thunder rumbled, I was so scared I didn't dare close my eyes. Hugging my quilt and barefoot, I ran into Xia Yanxi's bedroom.
Achoo.
I tried hard not to let my voice shake, but my tears still fell. I'm scared of thunder. I want to sleep with you. I'd barely touched the bed before Xia Yanxi pushed me away. There was no lamp lit in the room, and I couldn't make out his expression. I could only hear his hard, cold voice, like solid ice, saying, "Mian, you have to learn to grow up." I asked him softly and hesitantly, "But sister said that once I'm married, I'll have a husband, and then I can sleep with him." Xia Yanxi was silent for a long time, his knuckles clenching until they cracked, his voice dry as he said, "Did your sister really say that?" I nodded. "I don't lie." Afraid Xia Yanxi would still send me away, I quickly promised, "I'll only take up a tiny bit of your bed. I can sleep by your feet." Xia Yanxi raised a hand and patted the top of my head. He said, "Mian Mian, be good. We're not like other married couples." Maybe I was just too stupid. I didn't understand what was so different between me and Xia Yanxi and other married couples. While I was eating, my mother-in-law smacked my hand with her chopsticks. The tip of my nose turned red, but I didn't dare cry. I lowered my face like a little quail and obediently listened to her scolding. She said I was reaching too far with my chopsticks during meals, but at every meal, Xia Yanxi placed the dishes I liked so far away from me that I had no choice but to stand up to reach them. If I were at the Sang house, sister would put every dish I liked right into my bowl. My mother-in-law also said I picked up too much food with one bite, without a trace of a noble young lady's refinement, like a starving ghost. But if I didn't pick up that much, I wouldn't get full. At the Sang house, there would be afternoon tea, and sister would bring me all kinds of snacks and little pastries. By Xia Yanxi's side, I had nothing. My mother-in-law drove me away from the table. Her face was stern. "From now on, eat with the servants." I felt terribly wronged. My tears fell to the corner of my mouth, and I still didn't dare raise a hand to wipe them away. I didn't understand. It wasn't funny at all. But all the servants in the room were covering their mouths and laughing. I stood there helplessly, clutching my wrinkled skirt hem, secretly looking towards Xia Yanxi. He was my husband. Sister had told me that a husband was someone who would treat me well. I thought Xia Yanxi would speak up for me. After a few moments of silence, he looked away. "Mian Mian, mother is teaching you manners for your own good too." I turned my face away in a panic, secretly wiped away my tears. Then I heard my mother-in-law say to him, "A fool no one else wanted. You pick her up and brought her back just for the sake of a promise. Why don't you listen to how the whole capital is laughing at you?" Xia Yanxi's face darkened, and his thin lips moved as he said something. Full of grievance, I waited until nightfall before Xia Yanxi finally came back. I called his name in delight and went up, wanting to hug him. He pushed me away. Only later did I find out that it was because sister was coming to see me the next day. He was afraid the servants in the residence would see me being close to him and that it would reach sister's ears. When sister came to the Xia family to see me, she touched my face with pity. "Mian Mian has gotten thinner and doesn't like to smile anymore. Does Xia Yanxi treat you badly?" I lowered my head and counted on my fingers. "He buys me candy, he buys me clothes, he just doesn't like me. Yes, no matter how slow I am, I can still feel how much he rejects me." When he heard my sister had come, he left court early and only stood behind the rockery, watching from afar. But whenever he heard I was looking for him, Xia Yanxi would always frown instinctively and brush me off with all kinds of excuses. He had no time to spare. My sister comforted me. "Mian Mian is so wonderful, so good and obedient. Given enough time, Xia Yanxi will slowly come to like you." I nodded slowly. My sister wouldn't lie to me. I moved into Xia Yanxi's study. The servants in the residence said my sister was a talented woman renowned throughout the world. I couldn't help but straighten my back proudly. Then they said, "How could Miss Sang have such a stupid younger sister?" I looked at the willow catkins drifting all over the courtyard. The willow catkins seemed to drift into my throat and get stuck there, impossible to cough out. I tried hard to be like my sister. I studied poetry and literature, but again and again, I still couldn't remember them. The moment I closed the book, I forgot everything completely. I read without sleeping or resting, thinking I had finally improved and could haltingly recite a few lines of poetry. But at the banquet, I still made a fool of myself. A noble lady recited half a line of poetry. It sounded familiar, and I couldn't help wanting to finish it. But my voice was shaking, and I seemed to have said it wrong anyway. The whole banquet burst into laughter. Even a fool wants to show off like everyone else. Xia Yunzi didn't help me out. In a distant, cold voice, he sternly scolded me. Sang Mian, sit down. Don't speak anymore. His thin lips curved slightly. Like the crescent moon in the sky, the sharp arc held no warmth. Everyone, please don't laugh at her anymore. Xia Yunzi drank in my place and apologized to everyone. He looked troubled and helpless. If she starts crying later, her sister will come to the Xia family and blame me again. Everyone looked at Xia Yunzi with pity. Lord Xia, too, is a man who values promises and keeps his word. He married a fool as his wife for the sake of the woman he loves. I couldn't bear to listen to another word. Covering my ears, I hurriedly ran out of the banquet. I hid in Xia Yunzi's study. Spread across the desk were a few thin sheets of letter paper, the ink still wet, signed with my sister's name. In this life, I deliberately lost at rock, paper, scissors so I could marry your younger sister. Can that buy me a chance to stay by your side in the next life? I staggered backward. How strange, there was no wound on my chest, so why did it hurt, as if someone had ripped out my whole heart? I picked up the ink brush from the desk. Scribbling and crossing things out, I wrote a crooked divorce letter. Xia Yunzi, you're awful. You always make me hurt. I don't want you anymore either. Before the banquet ended, I left through the gates without taking a single thing from the Xia family. I traded the hairpin on my head for a ticket on a southbound boat. The boatman untied the rope, and the passenger boat slowly pulled away from the dock. Where does the young lady want to go? I stared blankly at the river water. Do I have to have a destination? The boatman smiled. You can or you don't have to. I looked at the light mist over the river, and at the moon hidden behind it. Wherever the boat stops, that's where I'll get off. After I settled down in Jiangnan, I received a letter from my sister. I recognized the words one by one after a long time, but strung together, I still couldn't quite understand them. Xia Yunzi didn't sign the divorce letter.
He searched for me for a long time.
I held my brush for a long time without writing a single word, and I didn't turn back either. In this life, my sister was afraid they would bully me for being slow-witted, so she changed the rules. They would play rock, paper, scissors, and whoever lost would have to marry me. The two of them competed until their eyes were red. Neither one was willing to admit defeat. After several rounds, there was still no winner. They all treated me like baggage they couldn't get rid of. My elder sister frowned slightly, pressed a finger to her lips, and this time, still gave a light cough. The one who turned around was Xia Yunzi. The wind stirred the strands of hair by his face. Ripples seemed to rise in his ink-dark eyes. Xia Yunzi stared blankly at my reddened eyes, hesitating for a moment. Just as he was about to lose on purpose again, I spoke softly but firmly. No, elder sister. I really don't want to marry either of them. Xia Yunzi's back stiffened. He smoothed away the curve at the corner of his lips, his expression turning cold and dark. After I spoke, Xia Yunzi walked over to my elder sister, his smile still as gentle as ever. Just take it as my loss. I'll marry the second young lady of the Sang family. His gaze brushed over me faintly. But I already have a marriage arrangement. If the second young lady of the Sang family enters my household, she can only be a concubine. Still, I'll keep my word and take care of her for the rest of her life. My elder sister's brows knit even tighter. She looked at the other one. Shen Qing shrugged.
Me.
I can marry her too. But my mother is strict, and with the second young lady being like this, she really can't be the principal wife. My elder sister was furious. I had never seen her this angry before. She told them all to get lost. She hugged me and wiped my tears clean. Don't cry, Mian Mian. Those two awful men aren't worth my little sister shedding tears over. My elder sister blinked, looking a little mysterious. I've got an even better one secretly tucked away. I'll take you to see him tomorrow. I stopped crying and nodded obediently. I trust my elder sister. When other people laughed at me for being stupid, only my elder sister would roll up her sleeves, pick up a brick from the ground, and smash it hard at that person's head, not caring in the slightest about her reputation as a refined and talented lady. I got up early. I sat before the dressing mirror, got myself all done up, and waited for my elder sister to take me to see that better one. Holding my hand, she led me onto a carriage. After winding through many turns, the carriage stopped in front of Chunfeng House. My elder sister said with a beaming smile, Mian Mian, I bought you the prettiest and cleanest little young man. You won't need to marry out in the future. He'll marry into your family. You'll be his wife master, and you can make him do anything. Could there really be something this good? My elder sister led me into a private room. Behind the bead curtain, there really was a little young man sitting there. Red lips, white teeth, dark hair, long lashes. I thought of the spirits my elder sister read about in storybooks. This was exactly how they should look. A faint blush spread across his skin, like a crabapple flower touched with morning dew. I was so stunned I didn't even notice when my elder sister slipped out. By the time I came back to my senses, I was already sitting beside him. Looking at his open collar, I asked as if possessed, "Can you let me touch?" The tips of his ears turned completely red, and in a husky voice he said, "Yes." I reached out and touched him. He let out a soft gasp. I got scared and didn't know whether he felt good or uncomfortable. Lowering my gaze, I stared at the corner of his lips. His lips were rosy red and beautifully shaped. Not quite like Xia Yanxi's. Xia Yanxi's lips were very thin, always pressed together. He had rarely smiled at me. I reached out, and just as my fingertips landed at the corner of his lips, the door was suddenly kicked open. Xia Yanxi burst in. After seeing the scene in front of him clearly, his face darkened to the extreme. "Sang Mian, what are you doing here?" He startled me, and I awkwardly pulled my hand back. The little young man beside me, who had let me touch him all over, looked at Xia Yanxi with none of the tenderness he had shown me just now. His gaze turned icy cold. He suddenly leaned over and pressed close to my side. "Do you think my lips are very soft?" I understood what he was asking. My cheeks grew hot. At the doorway, the look Xia Yanxi gave me had grown even colder. But my elder sister had taught me not to lie. I stammered, speaking in a tiny voice. "Yes, very soft." He laughed, dazzling and bewitching, radiant and shimmering. He bent down and kissed me on the cheek. I froze for a moment. My heart was beating as fast as a rabbit's. "My name is Aylin. From now on, I'm yours." His voice was like a little hook, pulling me so hard I lost all sense of direction. It felt like I'd swallowed a huge mouthful of honey, sweet all the way through. He said he was mine now. In winter, someone would warm my bed for me. I wouldn't have to sleep alone anymore and be scared of thunder. My sister said that whatever I asked him to do, he'd be willing. I'd only touched him once. Aylin was so soft and warm. Before I even got the chance to ask him to do anything, Xia Yanxi barged in. Thinking of that, I looked at Xia Yanxi standing in the doorway, and there was a little more annoyance in my eyes. "Lord Xia, could you move aside and close the door while you're at it? I still want to do something else with him." I gathered up my courage, but my voice was still weak and lacking confidence as I tried to shoo him away. It was as if an invisible sharp thorn had pierced straight through Xia Yanxi's body. His face turned pale all at once. He strode over to me, yanked me back to his side, his pitch-black eyes looking as if they would swallow everything whole. He raised his hand and wiped over and over the spot Aylin had just kissed. I had just lifted my head to speak when I met Xia Yanxi's icy expression. "Lord Xia, you're rubbing hard enough to make it hurt a little." Xia Yanxi seemed furious. He lowered his voice and snapped at me. "Sang Mian, do you even know what kind of place this is? And what kind of person he is? If I hadn't followed you here, you fool, you almost would have been." He cut himself off, but his eyes were red. I shook free of his hand. Xia Yanxi's palm was icy cold. In my previous life, Xia Yanxi had never touched me. He hadn't even been willing to come one step closer to me. So I hadn't expected his grip to be so strong, not nearly as comfortable as the man my sister found for me. Anyone in the world might lie to me or bully me, but my sister never would. This is the man my sister found for me. From now on, I'll be his wife. I thought I had explained it clearly, but Xia Yanxi was trembling all the way to his fingertips. He clutched my wrist and said without giving me any choice, "Come back with me." Aylin frowned, and the bright red corners of his lips curled into a mocking smile. "Lord Xia, knowing full well that Sang Mian was hurt before and reacts more slowly than other people, and you still treat her like this? Forcing her? Mian Mian can only be with the person she likes." His voice was as gentle as my sister's. Xia Yanxi's gaze met his, and in the next instant, Xia Yanxi covered my eyes, refusing to let me look at Aylin. "He's filthy. Don't look at him again." I pulled Xia Yanxi's hand away, not understanding at all. Aelin was perfectly clean, and he'd even washed himself till he smelled nice. So where exactly was he dirty? Aelin lifted his face, the corners of his eyes red, and looked at me pitifully. Wife, I've never had anyone else. I'm cleaner than Lord Xia. In both body and heart, I've only ever had you. I looked at Xia Yunxi with even more dissatisfaction. Xia Yunxi wanted to argue, but his lips moved for a long time without a single sound coming out. I glanced at the sky outside the window. It was dusk, the setting sun like a glossy duck egg yolk. It was already late. If I went back too late, Mother would worry. So I could only make an agreement with Aelin. In a few days, I'll come pick you up. Since I'd already touched him and he'd kiss me too, I had to take responsibility for him. Aelin's eyes lit up. The curve of his lips kept lifting higher and higher. Mian Mian, let's pinky swear. I crouched down and very seriously hooked pinkies with him, his long fingers tightly twining around mine. After the pinky swear, he suddenly leaned forward and gave me a light hug. Pressed against his chest, I could hear his heartbeat by my ear, fast like a drum. Was it his heartbeat or mine? Where I couldn't see, he curled his lips at Xia Yunxi behind me. Xia Yunxi and I walked out of Chunfeng House one after the other, and he didn't say a single word the whole way until we reached the entrance of Chunfeng House. Only then did Xia Yunxi lift his cold, gloomy face, his whole expression dark enough to drip water. Don't degrade yourself by believing what the men inside Chunfeng House say. Those men are experts at sweet-talking and deceiving women. Besides, you're not that smart. Xia Yunxi lightly furrowed his brow, as if he really were thinking things through for me. I asked him in surprise. Then who should I believe? Lord Xia? Talking about this only made me feel even more wronged. Xia Yunxi clearly didn't like me. He even hated me. Yet he still agreed to my sister's request and deliberately lost at rock paper scissors to trick me into marrying him. Xia Yunxi seemed unable to meet my gaze. He rubbed the fingers hidden in his sleeve, sang me on. This time I won't lie to you again. Before he could finish, my sister arrived. She asked me, "Why did you come out so quickly? I'm going to demand a refund." The owner and manager told me this young man was exceptionally gifted, that it would take at least one shurchen to start. It hasn't even been one shurchen yet. If that's not false advertising and ripping people off, what is? I looked confused and didn't understand at all. But Xia Yunxi behind me seemed to understand. His body swayed, his face turned frighteningly cold, and he almost shouted himself hoarse as he questioned my sister. This was the first time in both my lifetimes that I had seen Xia Yunxi get angry at my sister. She doesn't understand anything. How could you dare push another man onto her? My sister let out a slow, unhurried laugh. That man is handsome and clean, and most importantly, he's willing to marry into the family for Mian Mian. Prime Minister Xia, can you? In an instant, Xia Yunxi looked utterly defeated. All the bristling pride all over him drooped at once. I just knew my sister wouldn't lie to me. My sister, Sangji, crossed her arms and looked down at Xia Yunxi. Since Prime Minister Xia can't do that, then please stay a little farther away from my little sister from now on. The 6th day of the 6th month was an auspicious day. My sister was going to be married off and choose a husband. The residents held an extremely lively banquet. My sister's 2 childhood sweethearts came again. Xia Yunxi and Xin Qing stood by her side like 2 guardian gods, one on the left and one on the right, even though my sister didn't give them much of a pleasant look. This time, I wasn't envious at all. But after I looked away, Xia Yunxi, standing beside my sister, was still staring at me. I couldn't be bothered to look at Xia Yunxi. I still had to find a chance to leave the residence and buy Alan out of his contract. These past few days, Mother has been keeping a close watch on me, so I haven't had time to go see him. He's written me so many letters. The chubby pigeon that used to deliver them has flown so often it's gotten skinny from exhaustion. Every day, I save a little bite of my lunch to feed it. Alan writes me a letter in the morning, at noon, and at night. He knows I'm slow at recognizing characters and reading. His letters aren't long, just a few lines. He says he misses me so much and has bought me lots and lots of things, just waiting for me to go see him. I write back to him, and even if my handwriting is all crooked and messy, Alan never laughs at me. Compared like this, his handwriting looks almost like flowers, neat and crisp. I've saved up lots of silver, just waiting to spend it on my wife. Whatever catches your eye, Mian Mian, I'll buy it for you. There's new peach blossom cake in West City that you haven't tried yet. The vendor selling osmanthus sour plum soup has dropped the price by another one, so when the time comes I can buy you an extra bowl. As I read his letter, my cheeks, and even the tips of my ears, turned completely red. He's just too good with words. The moment I see his letters, I think of Alan's beautiful, striking face. I held my brush for a long time. Facing the blank sheet of letter paper, I couldn't write a single word. A sudden gust of wind sent fallen blossoms flying. The scattered petals, like snow, landed in my inkstone and on the letter paper. I looked up. In the middle of the banquet, young General Shun was performing a sword dance. The sword energy surged and flickered. The gleaming blade startled all the flowers in the courtyard into falling. He sheathed the sword, and a string of hibiscus blossoms had landed on the blade. Shin Qing eagerly brought them before my elder sister, fragrant flowers for a beauty. He tried to make her laugh. My sister didn't laugh, nor did she spare him an extra glance. Then it was Xia Yunxi's turn. He painted with splashed ink, yet he kept looking up, as if searching for someone, clearly distracted. My sister took our mother's arm. I'm about to be married, so Mian Mian's marriage should be settled too. Mother took a sip of tea, looking troubled. As for Mian Mian, I'm afraid no one would be willing to marry her. Mother spoke very softly, but I still heard it. Mother wasn't mocking me. She knew my mind wasn't quite right, and that no one wanted me. My sister's lovely, clear eyes turned to me. Maybe Mian Mian already has someone she likes. The moment she said that, the whole banquet fell silent. I lowered my burning face and stammered, I do. He's very good, and I like him very much too. Not far away, Xia Yunxi's hand paused mid-painting. He looked toward me, his gaze like a candle flame, flickering softly. The wind god wasn't on my side. The letter in my hand that I hadn't finished writing was blown away by that gust. It landed right in front of Xia Yunxi. On the paper was a line from a poem I had memorized in my previous life. I only wish your heart to be like mine, and not let down this longing. It was such a short poem. I had recited it over and over for so long, hoping to earn a word of praise from Xia Yunxi. But Xia Yunxi was always busy. I finally managed to stop him after he returned from court. I had only stammered out half of this poem meant to express my feelings before Xia Yunxi had already walked away to take care of something else. In this life, this poem that I had worked so hard to memorize, I wrote it to someone else. Xia Yunxi saw the drifting letter clearly. With a flick of his fingertip, his ink brush drew a long streak, ruining the entire painting. He and Shin Qing were both competing for my sister's favor. With the painting ruined, that meant he had lost. The young general of the Shin family thought victory was in his grasp and moved up to my sister. She shot him a cold glance. Who said that if you won, I'd marry you? The Shin family is a great noble house, and your mother keeps a tight rein on things. If I married you, would I only end up as a concubine? Shin Qing was so anxious he spun in circles. That's not the same. My sister gave a light snort. So you look down on my little sister? There's no difference. If Mian Mian won't marry you, then neither will I. A few days later, the city held a poetry banquet. In my previous life, I had thoroughly embarrassed myself at just such a banquet.
I was still shaken by it.
My sister invited me to go with her. I shook my head like a rattledrum. I'm not going. If I go, I won't be able to say a single thing, and I'll only drag sister down. My sister squeezed my hand. Mian Mian, don't be afraid. Everyone has things they're good at, and things they're not. She lowered her head to look at my embroidery frame. The mandarin ducks stitched on it looked vividly alive, and even the feathers on their wings were distinct strand by strand. Her voice grew gentler. For example, your embroidery is very good. Even I can't compare to you. My sister rubbed the top of my head. Mian Mian isn't stupid at all. If anyone dares say that about you, I'll tear their mouth apart. You're just too innocent, like a mirror. People dislike you because when they look into that mirror, they see themselves. I nodded, half understanding, and slowly grabbed hold of my sister's sleeve. She wouldn't lie to me. I followed my sister to the banquet. I sat obediently behind her, waiting for her to feed me. Every now and then I'd eat a piece of cloud cake, drink a cup of tea, and on the side watch with shining eyes as my sister swept the room and stunned everyone present. When my cheeks were stuffed full, I spotted Xia Yunxi. I frowned irritably. I can run into him anywhere. But thinking about it, that makes sense. He always liked following around my older sister. But this time, Xia Yunxi didn't come alone. Beside him was a delicate, beautiful woman in a pale cloud-white brocade dress. I like looking at pretty ladies, so I couldn't help sneaking a few extra glances. Then it suddenly hit me. This beautiful lady should be the fiancée Xia Yanxi was engaged to in this life, the young lady of the Chui family of Qinghe.
Xi Yunxi's gaze met Mina.
He didn't keep staring at me anymore, like I owed him money, but quickly looked away and poured tea for Miss Chui beside him. He also introduced the guests at the banquet to her one by one. I don't know what joke he told, but it made Miss Chui smile nonstop. I found it boring to watch and calmly looked away too. After marrying Xia Yanxi, that habit of always feeling heartache never came back in this life. When I noticed that change, I was happy for quite a while. But then I remembered that all the things Xia Yanxi did for that beautiful lady, he hadn't done a single one of them for me in my previous life. My older sister spoke with effortless brilliance, her writing flowing like brocade. The Zhuang Yuan and Tan Huilang at the banquet were all completely outclassed. The eldest princess took a liking to my older sister and invited her over to talk. Without her, I was left all alone at the banquet. They started a game of passing the flower while the drums beat, then reciting poetry and composing prose. They even brought out a scholar's set with an inkjade inkstone as the prize for the winner. I couldn't help staring at that writing set a few times. In my previous life, I secretly saved up silver for a long time, wanting to buy a writing set as a birthday gift for Xia Yanxi to give him a surprise. Back then, I was muttering about writing sets even in my sleep. Xia Yanxi even overheard me. He laughed at me a little too. Mian, you don't want candy anymore. You want a writing set now? Do you even know what that is? He smiled faintly. Be good, don't ask for it. Even if you got it, you wouldn't be able to use it. That's right, someone as stupid as me wouldn't be able to use it even if I had it. Lowering my head, I quickly took 2 bites of the fragrant pastry in my hand. Not far away, Xia Yanxi was still staring blankly at the writing set. It wasn't until Miss Chui beside him tugged at his sleeve. Leaning closer to him, she seemed to whisper something softly, that she wanted it too. Second miss of the Sang family. A clear, cool voice rang out as Xia Yanxi suddenly called my name in front of everyone. He asked me, do you want this writing set or not? As long as you beat Miss Chui, I'll give it to you. My mind, always slower than other people's, had a rare moment of clarity. Xia Yanxi wanted to make me look bad again. I remembered what my older sister said. He hated me and targeted me at every turn. Maybe he hated seeing his own reflection in me. In the past, I used to trail after Xia Yanxi, full of hope, wanting to see him, but once I did, I got scared. As long as he so much as frowned, I'd shrink back uncontrollably and curl up into myself. So I spoke calmly. I don't want this writing set. Before I could get the words "don't want it" out, a tall shadow fell over me. I'll compete in her place. I turned around in shock. The newcomer stood against the light, the warm glow falling over his profile and outlining his sharply defined features. My heart gave an honest response. It started beating faster. Aylin? I blinked. Why are you here? Wasn't he a male courtesan from Chunfeng House? A gentle smile spread across his lips. He reached out with his long, well-defined fingers and brushed aside the strand of hair stuck to my lips. I missed my wife too much. I couldn't wait for you to come find me, so I couldn't help coming to find you first. Where he had touched me, it felt like little flames had sparked up, all tingly and itchy. Aylin was competing with Miss Chui on my behalf, and I was so nervous for him that I even stopped eating pastries. Miss Chui came from a prestigious family, and her learning was no worse than my elder sister's. Aylin was only a courtesan, and with how beautiful he was, I figured he'd probably been taught to please people with his looks. But in the end, the poem and prose he composed were even better. Here, I won it for you. I didn't embarrass you, wife lord. A lazy smile hung at the corner of his lips as he stuffed the heavy set of writing materials into my arms. Aylin accompanied me out of the banquet. Along the way, I held the brocade box with the writing set in my arms. It was pretty heavy, and I had no use for it. After thinking for a while, I handed the brocade box to him. He laughed, and it looked like stars were shimmering in his eyes. Don't like it? I froze for a moment. Nothing could fool his eyes. If I played rock, paper, scissors with him, I'd definitely lose every time. Before I knew it, I blurted out what was on my mind. The wind blew, scattering the drifting clouds. Moonlight poured down, lighting up the blush on my face with perfect clarity. He bent down and pinched the flower bud bun on top of my head. Then he softly asked me, Want to play rock, paper, scissors with me? I had no choice but to nod. The smile on Aylin's lips deepened. The loser has to stay with the winner for a lifetime. The stakes were a little strange. Aylin and I stood beneath the tree playing rock, paper, scissors, moonlight adorning his brows and eyes, as if vivid beauty had melted there. I won 3 rounds. He won 3 rounds too. For some reason, my nose stung a little. In a small voice, I said, "Actually, you don't have to go easy on me." He raised his hand and pinched my flower bud hairstyle again. "I wasn't going easy on you. I did it willingly. Mian Mian isn't a bet, so there was never any winning or losing. I'll stay with you for a lifetime, and you'll stay with me for a lifetime too. As for that extra set of writing materials, I sold it. Once that heavy thing was turned into money, my mood brightened a lot. Holding Aylin's long, warm hand, I bought all kinds of things. The peach blossom cakes and osmanthus sour plum soup he'd mentioned in his letters, I tried them all. My belly was so round and full that by the end, I couldn't eat another bite. The person beside me took out a handkerchief and gently wiped the corners of my lips. He bought me a kite and patiently taught me hand in hand how to make it fly high, all the way into the clouds. He never once thought I was stupid or complained that I learned too slowly. Leaning against his chest, I was dazzled, not knowing whether I should look at the kite or at him. Then, all of a sudden, a gust of wind blew by. The kite string snapped, and that blue lawn kite got caught on a high tree branch. I looked at it, heart sore and upset, as the newly bought kite hung there in the tree. I was so anxious I kept pacing in circles, and all I could do was stubbornly say, "I don't want it anymore." Aylin told me to wait. He moved with agile ease and, in the blink of an eye, climbed up the tree to get the kite for me. I tried hard to keep my eyes wide open and blink and blink. As long as I did that, the tears inside wouldn't fall. I was only feeling a bit of delayed sadness. Only with the comparison did I realize just how terribly Xia Yunxi had treated me. He said a gentleman should be like carved jade, with fine words and virtuous conduct, and he was unwilling to do anything improper for me. Even when the pet cat I had been secretly raising was beaten and injured, I went to Xia Yunxi crying and begged him to save it. Xia Yunxi only lifted his eyelids coldly. "Life and death are fated. I can't save it. It's just an animal. If you want one, you can buy plenty of them. There's no need to cry like this." I wiped away my tears in confusion and helplessness. Xia Yunxi was so smart, yet he didn't understand that some things can't be replaced. Aylin helped me get the kite back. The branches swayed, and blossoms from the whole tree came drifting down. I stood below, nervous as could be. It looked like he hadn't gotten a firm grip, and he stumbled, falling from the branch straight into my arms. That was a little too clumsy. Even I could tell he did it on purpose. But even though I could tell, I still couldn't help stepping forward and reaching out worriedly to catch him in my arms. Alan leaned against the hollow of my neck, and the breath he exhaled was so warm. It felt like it was going to melt me too. I didn't dare move at all. He lowered his eyes, his long lashes half veiling them, as if fireflies were hidden there, glimmers flickering inside, and asked me very seriously, "Can I kiss you?" It felt like there was a little rabbit hidden in my chest, fluttering and thumping nonstop. In a tiny voice, I murmured, "Oh, okay." Then I nervously shut my eyes and clenched the corner of his clothes in both hands. This kiss was no longer just a brief touch. He kissed me until I could hardly breathe. My face flushed red, my legs went weak, and I fell into his arms, breathing in great gulps. He chuckled softly and tapped the tip of my nose. "Mian Mian, remember to breathe next time." I nodded obediently in my dazed confusion, wanting to write it down in a little booklet so I wouldn't forget again next time. I leaned closer to him, very seriously. "Let's kiss a few more times and you can teach me more. I promise I'll work hard and learn." This kiss was even sweeter than the last one. I pointed at my chest, and Alan suddenly fell silent. He was smiling, but as he smiled, his eyes turned red. "Mian Mian isn't stupid at all. You just never met someone willing to teach you patiently. It's okay, whatever you want to learn, I can teach you slowly for a lifetime. From now on, you won't have to be so careful anymore. Then can we kiss again? So I can practice a few more times?" I looked at him expectantly. Alan really was a very patient, very gentle teacher, and he taught me a lot of techniques. My lips were burning, as if they were about to melt. I learned so much. This time, when I opened my eyes, what I saw in the distance was Xia Yunxi, his face frosty and his whole body giving off a terrifying aura. I had no idea how long he'd been there, but his expression looked like he was about to devour someone. Even when I made the gravest mistakes in my past life, Xia Yanxi's face had never looked this frightening. Instinctively, I clutched my own clothes in fear. The Xia Yanxi before me overlapped once again with the one from my past life. After losing his temper with me, Xia Yanxi would ignore me for days. I wasn't very bright, so all I could do was guess over and over what I had done wrong. Alan, beside me, took my hand and enclosed my icy fingers in his warm palm. Mian Mian, don't be afraid. He's just a stranger. That's right. In this life, Xia Yanxi is no longer my husband. He's just a stranger. I slowly relaxed. Xia Yanxi walked up to me, his eyes red all around, especially when he looked at the hands Alan and I were holding. When he spoke, his tone was fierce. Sang Mian, I told you not to be with him, not to let him fool you. But you wouldn't listen to me and insisted on being this close with him. This time, I wasn't afraid. I met Xia Yanxi's icy gaze honestly. I like him. I just want to be with him. When Alan heard what I said, it was like he'd tasted a spoonful of honey. Even the smile at his lips was sweet. Only Xia Yanxi, standing opposite us, looked deathly pale, making his eyes seem especially red, as if tears would fall any second. Stop making me angry, okay? I was a little startled that Xia Yanxi would plead with me in such a fragile voice. I don't have a marriage arrangement with Miss Cui. She's only my cousin. I just wanted to try it, to see, now that this life has started over, what it would be like to marry someone else. Xia Yanxi smiled, but it was a bitter smile. I realized, I still can't do it. When my eyes are open, it's you. When my eyes are closed, it's still you. These eyes won't obey me. So long as you appear, they'll fall on you. His voice dropped as he begged me in a choked, trembling voice. Mian Mian, marry me. I'll still make you my principal wife. I was terrified and quickly shook my head firmly. No. Being by your side hurts so much. My heart always aches. No matter how much candy I eat, it doesn't help. And no matter how pretty the new clothes I wear, it doesn't work either. You don't like me at all. You're only doing this to keep your promise to my elder sister. Those people bullied me. You saw it all, but you never helped me. Looking at his eyes slowly filling with tears, I said very solemnly, So, Xia Yanxi, I don't like you at all either. Xia Yanxi was trembling all over, as if he were about to shatter. Gritting his teeth, he asked me, Sang Mian, then do you know who he is? He's the crown prince of Bailiang.
Can he really marry you?
Hearing this, I suddenly lifted my eyes. I looked at Alan in surprise. His expression was calm as he said, I can't marry her. Xia Yanxi let out a sigh of relief. He said to me, Sang Mian, you were deceived by him. His real name is Helian Lin, and he's the crown prince of Bailiang. He's been lying to you all along, hiding his identity while staying by your side. Only I would never lie to you. I froze for a moment and tried to pull my hand free from Helian Lin's grasp, but he held on even tighter. His voice was very soft, still as gentle as ever. Let me finish. I can't marry her, because I'm marrying into her family. Sang Mian is the wife head of the household. Xia Yanxi couldn't believe it. You, a dignified crown prince. Helian Lin narrowed his eyes and said lightly, So what? Can a dignified crown prince not have someone he loves? Can he not place the one he loves in the highest position? Just because Chancellor Xia can't do it doesn't mean no one else can. In Bailiang, women have always held the higher status. Even my father consort had to overcome countless obstacles and use every means he could before he alone won my imperial mother's favor. He lowered his voice a little and warned Xia Yanxi, Don't come ruin my good thing and steal my wife head of the household. I quietly looked at Helian Lin for a moment, still feeling a little puzzled. If you're the crown prince, how did you end up in a place like that? And how did my elder sister drug you and send you to me? When I asked about that, a blush spread across his jade-pale face. He said, If I told you I did it voluntarily, would you believe me? That day, he had gone to Chunfeng House to look for a subordinate, and the eldest daughter of the Sang family mistook him for the top courtesan boy of Chunfeng House. Sang Ji slapped his shoulder, her eyes lighting up. Not bad-looking, slim waist and long legs. Such a fine piece of goods definitely has to be bought for my little sister. How much before you're willing to redeem yourself and become a live-in husband? He was so angry, he bit out a cold laugh. Your Highness, I mean, what kind of person do you take me for? No amount of money will do. Sangji was delighted. So you're even a virgin courtesan. That's exactly what I want. Filthy things, don't even think about getting near my little sister.
Sister.
The young girl at the door peered in innocently and called out softly, sister. In that instant, he was completely entranced. The girl wore her hair in two little buns, her eyes bright and watery. She was soft and sweet, like a plate of pear blossom cakes fresh out of the steamer. Oh no, was he poisoned? Why had his breathing sped up? Why did his heart feel like it was about to leap out too? Sangji planned to keep looking. She was determined to find someone who would obey her little sister's every word and treat her well for life. He pressed a hand down to stop her. How much money do you have? I'll sell myself to you. If you don't have enough, I can lower my own price. I can even throw myself in for free. My little sister is timid, so you're not allowed to hurt her. This bottle of medicine. Before she could finish speaking, he snatched the medicine away and drank it all in one go. After hearing the whole story, I thought for a moment and asked Helian Lin, then are you still going back to Bailiang? He held my hand tightly, especially tightly, and lifted it to his cheek to rub against it. Whatever my wife head of the household says, wherever my wife head of the household is, that's where I'll be. Extra. After Helian Lin became a live-in husband, he was with me for 3 years. The day I went with him back to Bailiang to visit his family, Xia Yanxi rode after us on horseback. He had grown much thinner. His once refined and handsome face now looked gaunt and hollow, and the bloodshot red in his eyes had never faded. He blocked my carriage, anxious and angry. Sang Mian, how can you go with him to a place that far away? If you get bullied there, no one will even know. I quietly argued back. He's not like Lord Xia. He won't bully me. He's willing to play with me. Helian Lin bought me a puppy to keep me company. I like fluffy little dogs, so I ate and slept with it. Helian Lin got unhappy again. That night, he put a collar on himself. Half kneeling in front of me, he asked, Wife, do you want to try playing with a different kind of puppy? He pulled me into trying all kinds of tricks. I wanted to hear a puppy bark, and he obediently copied it. He even turned into a big horse and let me ride him. Later, I was really too worn out to play anymore. Only then did he kiss my sweat-damp hair and hold me as we fell asleep. Hearing all this, a strange flush spread across Xia Yanxi's pale face. His voice trembling, he begged me, don't say any more. He's so strange. Wasn't he the one who chased after me to ask? So, why did he suddenly flee in panic on horseback? On the way to Shiliang, I received a letter from my elder sister. She told me that Xia Yanxi had resigned from his post as chancellor and requested a transfer away from the capital, heading to the desolate Yenyun Pass. I heard that's the last pass leading to the western regions, facing Bailiang from afar. As for my sister herself, she chose neither of those two childhood sweethearts. She said they were both worthless cowards. She started a women's academy together with the Grand Princess. My sister became a teacher, educating women to read, pursue scholarship, and enter official service through the imperial exams. I am filled with poetry and learning. I refuse to fade into obscurity in this dusty world, trapped at some man's side. To live an ordinary, mediocre life. I am willing to be a spark, willing to be candlelight, to use my own faint glow to burn through my whole life, to split open this vast dead end, and light the road ahead for the women who come after. The letter my sister wrote was obviously a little awkward, but I understood every word of it. After finishing the letter, I cried myself to sleep. Outside the carriage, the shadow guard reminded him, Prince Helian, we're about to arrive at the royal city of Bailiang. Helian Lin carefully tucked the blanket around me, then reminded them with a dark expression, Wife is pregnant. If you wake her up, all of you can go back and take your punishment. The shadow guards were so scared they turned and ran for it. Then, he called them back again. From now on, don't call me Helian Lin. Put wife's surname in front, and call me Sang Helian Lin, got it? Don't make me look like a man with no one to belong to.